We are waiting for President Obama to speak as he makes his final foreign trip as president. He is in Athens, Greece. As soon as that comes, we will bring it to you. Meanwhile, our next president is making waves this morning on Twitter once again, doing a couple of different things that are worthy of note. Two tweets in particular. The first one was about the popular vote. He obviously doesn't like people saying that Hillary Clinton won the popular vote, which at last tally is her plus 800,000 votes over him. The tweet reads, quote, "If the election were based on total popular vote, I would have campaigned in New York, Florida, and California and won even bigger and more easily." He continues in a different tweet talking about the Electoral College. Now, this one is maybe even more interesting because he says the Electoral College is genius. It brings in all states, including the smaller ones. Campaigning is much different. Here's the problem. He tweeted earlier about the Electoral College, saying that he hated it and that this should be about a simple vote, just a majority vote. The Electoral College is a disaster for democracy.
That was after Mitt Romney lost.
Yes, in 2012.
He didn't like the Electoral College. All right, let's bring in CNN.
Also, when he told people to get out in the streets and march on Washington because the result was a travesty. All right, so let's bring in CNN political chief correspondent Dana Bash, also CNN political analyst David Gregory. David Gregory, the ineffable question of why do you care about these tweets? What's in there for you?
Look, this debate about the Electoral College is something that should probably go forward once we come down a little bit from the heat of this election. The truth is that Democrats were quite exercised about this in 2000 after the Supreme Court ended the dispute and gave George W. Bush the presidency. Since 2000, where have they been? You know, I mean, there were plenty of opportunities to bring it up and to try to force a constitutional amendment, but that energy seemed to die when you had President Bush win re-election with the Electoral College and the popular vote, and Obama do it twice. So the reality is there's a chance to revisit this. It looks like you're undermining the legitimacy of the election when you put it on the agenda right now.
Mm-hmm. So what does come out of this? Well, first of all, I think that what is even more sort of puzzling is that after Mitt Romney, as you should put on the screen, after Mitt Romney lost, Donald Trump said the Electoral College is a disaster. On Sunday, 60 Minutes aired an interview where he said, just because I won doesn't mean I'm going to change my opinion. The Electoral College is still a disaster. And today he's saying differently, probably I'm guessing because he was reading something or seeing something of Democrats complaining about the fact that Hillary Clinton won the popular vote. I don't think it's going to change. And I think, look, the Democrats went into this election cycle, just like they did in the last couple, with the upper hand in the Electoral College. It was Hillary Clinton's to lose, and she lost it. So, I mean, you know, if they're going to complain about the Electoral College now, perhaps they should have had a different campaign strategy in the Rust Belt states that have been blue for, you know, since the 80s, which she lost because her appeal to the working class voter went away and Donald Trump got it.
I have a different type of question about these, is that what do these tweets reflect about something about Donald Trump that he's going to have to deal with as president? The first one goes about the popular vote and what he would have done to his intolerance of criticism. He does not like hearing that Hillary Clinton won. He really, I don't even think they believe it, that it doesn't matter somehow. So, David, what does that speak to as a challenge going forward, his inability to let anything go?
Well, there's a couple of factors. Yeah, I mean, I think this is something to be really watchful about as we watch President Trump, who has a short fuse and a quick temper and doesn't like to be criticized. And how is that going to impact him? You know, it's one thing in a presidential campaign to get the criticism from the media, the scrutiny from the media on you, because it's shared with your opponent and it can move off of you. When you're president, it's all on you and it's on you all the time. And so we're going to have to see how he manages that. The other piece of Twitter for him, for social media generally, is it's a way to get past the filter of the media and go directly to the American people. And guess what? Every president that Dana and I have covered would have used the same thing if it was available to them. President Bush would have, and Barack Obama did use it, and the President Obama went around the media every way he could find, and he would have done more.
But did they also say that the media is a bunch of dogs and that anybody who criticizes them is terrible at their job?
No, not quite that way. Not quite that way. But Andy Card talked about the press as a special interest group. I mean, this is a time-honored tradition that is bipartisan of disdain for the media. The vocabulary may change, but the sentiment does not.
And I think the question going forward when President-elect Trump is actually in the White House after Inauguration Day is how he's going to, and the people around him are going to manage his criticisms and the fact that he does get upset about criticism and manage that fact with expressing it publicly.
Well, what's the answer to that? Because
I don't know.
during the campaign, there was that sort of moratorium on Twitter for that week or so, and there was a feeling that maybe Kellyanne Conway had like absconded with his iPhone.
And Steve Bannon, they did.
Okay, so
Although
can
you
we
can get on
expect
Twitter
that?
even if you lose your device.
What?
But
so
maybe
can
not when
we
you're president, but that's a
expect
different
that
conversation.
to happen again?
Honestly, that is one of the, it sounds trivial, that's one of the big questions of a Trump presidency, but it's not for the reasons that we're talking about, because he has used it so effectively and also has used it to the detriment of his own message many times.
But we just have to be very contemporary about this, okay? As much as we may view Twitter and the way Trump uses it, because it's certainly true, as a way of showing that he can really be off the reservation, this is an extension of his bully pulpit. And he has an ability, as any president does, to try to influence public opinion through all the means at their disposal. I do think that Twitter is going to be one for him. I think he's got real needs to rein this in. He has talked about that. I don't know what he's capable of.
Well, he only needs to rein it in based on what he says and how he does it. I don't think that there's any legitimate criticism of using the medium. Use whatever you want. Get your message out. If you can bypass scrutiny, good for you. Politicians love that. It's what he says. When he says something about the Electoral College that is factually contradicted by something else that he said, that's what makes it a problem.
All right, guys, we have to leave it there. Dana, David, great to see you guys. Thanks so much. President Obama will speak any minute from Greece. We have full coverage on CNN when Newsroom with Carol Costello begins after this very short break.
A live look at Greece.
Choose to